Hello, hello, hey, sweet people. It is Foster from Inglês no Cru.
Of course.
It's still me. It's always me. Unfortunately, it's me. Just a quick note before we get started with the show. Our reading masterclass, our newest course, is available for new students on March 8th, 2021.
Muito bem.
So that is Monday, March 8th, 2021. It is a 6-week course on how to read more effectively in English. During the pandemic, I have kind of realized the importance of reading, not only for mental health and just a good practice, but also the importance of reading in foreign languages.
Sim, se você é capaz de ler numa língua estrangeira, isso já vai te ajudar muito. Então, no começo pode ser difícil, pode ser frustrante, você realmente pode ter que colocar um dicionário do lado e colocar algumas palavras que não façam sentido para você. Mas a partir do momento que você começa a melhorar e contextualizar aquele artigo, aquela notícia no jornal, aquele livro, quer dizer que você está avançando. Então, nós vamos te ensinar a como ler e entender de forma ativa, porque você tem duas formas, ativa e passiva. Nós estamos aqui para te ajudar como absorver tudo da leitura de forma ativa e vai ser o máximo.
Yes, so all my nerds, all my bookworms, come join us March 8th. If you want to learn more, visit inglesnoicru.com, get on the waiting list, and let's get on with the show.
Uhul! Hello! Gente, pela primeira vez aqui no Inglês no Cru Rádio, vocês vão escutar uma promoção inédita do Cambly. Pela primeira vez na vida, o Cambly está dando desconto no plano mensal. Isso nunca aconteceu antes e essa é a sua melhor oportunidade de experimentar o Cambly antes de você se comprometer com um plano mais longo, né? Então, assim, é só você usar o nosso código e o nosso código é Inglês no Cru mensal até o dia 31 de março de 2021. E aí você vai poder aproveitar a aula grátis e também aproveitar o desconto. Tem plano a partir de R$ 99,00 e, gente, vale muito a pena. Então, corre, que é só até o final do mês e vale muito a pena. Promoção inédita aqui no Inglês no Cru Rádio, só para vocês, feito pelo Cambly. Now, on with the show. Why We Travel by Pico Iyer. We travel initially to lose ourselves, and we travel next to find ourselves. We travel to open our hearts and eyes and learn more about the world than our newspapers will accommodate. We travel to bring what little we can in our ignorance and knowledge to those parts of the globe whose riches are differently dispersed. And we travel, in essence, to become young fools again.
So this is probably a good place to jump in for the first time. So Alexia said, to become young fools again. But Alexia is saying foo, foo. So the correct pronunciation is fool, fool. This is a very difficult sound, this final L sound. In linguistics, many times we call this the dark L, but the biggest thing that Alexia needs to focus on here is she is creating too much of a circle with her mouth at the end of the word, which is creating that ooh, ooh sound. In linguistics, we call this lip roundedness. So, Alexia, what you want to do is simply relax your lips, and this is easier said than done. So a good trick or tip to help you with this is simply to smile when you're saying fools, fools, and that will help you prevent making that circle with your lips, which is really giving you that ooh, ooh sound. Okay, let's keep going.
To slow time down and get taken in, and fall in love once more. The beauty of this whole process was best described, perhaps, before people even took to frequent flying, by George Santayana in his lapidary essay, The Philosophy of Travel.
Okay, so just a couple of things here. First, Alexia is referring to the Harvard professor George Santayana. I don't know exactly how to say his last name, so Alexia's guess is just as good as mine. But she mentioned a very interesting word, the word lapidary. Lapidary is not a word that any of you need to know, but if something is lapidary, it can refer to something that is written in stone, which therefore makes it incredibly important and eloquent and sophisticated. But again, unless you are really trying to expand your vocabulary to the max, probably don't need to pay attention to the word lapidary. Okay, let's keep going.
We need sometimes, the Harvard philosopher wrote, to escape into open solitudes, into aimlessness. Oh my God, this was hard. To escape into open solitudes, into aimlessness, aimlessness, into the moral holiday of running some pure hazard, in order to sharpen the edge of life, to taste hardship, and to be compelled to work desperately for a moment at no matter what.
Okay, so just a couple of things here. First, you could hear that Alexia was having some problems, some difficulties with the word aimlessness. So, with our students, I always recommend if you have a very big and complicated word that you break this word down into its most simple syllables. So, you want to separate it into its most basic parts. So, in this case, we have the word aimlessness, which just means aimlessness, that you have no idea where you're going. So we have aimlessness. So start slow, aimlessness, and then you can speed up, improve your speed, and say aimlessness. Also, Alexia was struggling just a bit with the word hazard. Hazard is just something kind of dangerous or something that could give you, I don't know, some physical problems. I believe Alexia said hazard or something like that. So that first sound is the ah, just like dad, master, disaster. So the correct pronunciation is hazard. And then finally, Alexia said to be compelled. And her pronunciation was not exactly right. So if you are compelled to do something, that means you are almost obliged to do something. It really forces you to do something. Or if a situation is compelling, it really calls you to action. It really calls your attention. Okay?
I like that stress on work, since never more than on the road are we shown how proportional our blessings are to the difficulty that precedes them. And I like the stress on a holiday that's moral, since we fall into our ethical habits as easily as into our beds at night.
Okay, so I just wanted to jump in real quick and say how beautiful that is, that we fall into our ethical habits as easily as we fall into bed at night. That is so true, and Pico is a true poet. Okay?
Few of us ever forget the connection between travel and travail. 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 So, again, few of us ever forget the connection between travel and travail. And I know that I travel in large part in search of hardship, both my own, which I want to feel, and others.
Okay, so here Alexia said, few of us ever forget the difference between travel and travail. Her pronunciation of travail she was having a little bit of trouble at the beginning. So obviously to travel, viajar, né? But to travail is honestly, it is not a word that everyone uses nowadays. This article is a little bit out of date, but to travail is to participate in a particularly difficult and laborious effort. So, for example, if you are working on a super difficult project, you might experience a lot of sadness, and then eventually you may travail. Like it's really it's really difficult, but it's something that's worth it in in the big picture. Nah, it's a difficult word. You don't really need to know that one. Okay, let's keep going.
Which I need to see. Travel, in that sense, guides us toward a better balance of wisdom and compassion, of seeing the world clearly and yet feeling it truly. For seeing without feeling can obviously be uncaring, while feeling without seeing can be blind. Yet, for me, the first great joy of traveling is simply the luxury of leaving all my beliefs and certainties at home and seeing everything I thought I knew in a different light and from a crooked angle. In that regard, even a Kentucky Fried Chicken outlet in Beijing or a scratchy revival showing of wild orchids on Champs-Elysees can be both novelty and revelation.
I feel like I should just jump in really quick to talk about the word crooked. Crooked. First, this is what we call the other U sound. The vowel is crooked. Crooked. So a crook is like a thief or someone that steals, like bandido. But if something is crooked, you could say that a person is crooked, which means they are not honest. They might steal something. But the more normal definition is crooked is like torto, right? Like you are hanging a picture on a wall, a painting on the wall, and it is not perfect. It is probably crooked. Okay?
In China, after all, people will pay a whole week's wakes to eat with Colonel Sanders. It's so hard because colonel here is with L, and I'm reading, so it's coronel, right? Colonel. Colonel Sanders. Okay, so after all, people will pay a whole week's wages to eat with Colonel Sanders, and in Paris, Mikey Rourke is regarded as the greatest actor since Jerry Lewis.
Okay, so three things here. First, Mickey Rourke. Mickey Rourke. Secondly, when Alexia is talking about Kentucky Fried Chicken, the founder of KFC is Colonel Sanders. So this is a perfect example of how in English we do not pronounce the things that we write in the same way. English is not a phonetic language. So Colonel is technically spelled Cononel, I believe. Or Colonel. Yeah, but the way we pronounce it is Colonel Sanders. Okay? And Alexia was also struggling with the word wages. Wages is essentially another word for salary. A wage is the amount of money that you are paid for your work.
If a Mongolian restaurant seems exotic to us in Evanston, it only follows that a McDonald's would seem equally exotic in Ulan Bator, or, at least, equally from everything expected. Though it's fashionable nowadays to draw a distinction between the tourist and the traveler, perhaps the real distinction lies between those who leave their assumptions at home and those who don't. Among those who don't, a tourist is just someone who complains. Nothing here is the way it is at home. While a traveler is one who grumbles. Everything here is the same as it is.
Okay, so 2 times Alexia mispronounced the word exotic. Exotic. So she was saying exotic, but imagine you were saying exotic, like you were saying the word egg almost, like ovu, and then exotic, exotic, exotic. Okay?
In Cairo or Cusco or Kathmandu, it's all very much the same.
So just to jump in really quick, some of you guys may remember that Alexia and I did record an episode talking about the difference between tourists and travelers. And now I feel really stupid for doing that because Pico gives an incredible definition for why that is not the best way to think about travel, and his way of approaching it is so much more eloquent, so much better. So here it is.
But for the rest of us, the sovereign freedom of traveling comes from the fact that that it whirls you around and turns you upside down and stands everything you took for granted on its head.
Okay, so 2 things really quick. First, the word sovereign. Sovereign. A lot of Portuguese speakers have difficulties with any word that has this EIGN combination, like foreign, sovereign. So, for example, foreign or foreigner, que seria estrangeiro, or sovereign and sovereignty. We just do not pay attention to the crazy writing and just think this is sovereign, earn, foreign, foreign. Okay? And also, Alexia said it whirls you around and takes you up and down or something like that. To whirl is, for example, a jacuzzi. Sometimes in English we say a whirlpool. That is just a brand, but some people call it that. And to whirl something means you are spinning it around. Okay?
If a diploma can famously be a passport to a journey through hard realism, a passport can be a diploma for a crash course in cultural relativism.
Okay, I just have to stop really quick and say I love that so much that a passport can be a crash course for cultural relativism. So essentially, he is saying that if you want to learn about new cultures, if you want to really understand the world in a deep and profound way, your passport is more important than a degree. It's more important than a university diploma. Your passport is your key to learning about the world.
And the first lesson we learn on the road, whether we like it or not, is how provisional and provincial are the things we imagine to be universal.
So, just a quick explanation of the difference between the words provisional and provincial, because these are very similar, and you're probably noticing that Pico writes in a very poetic style. So, provisional is just kind of you're estimating something, you're not exactly sure, you're just trying to create the best situation with the materials that you have. Like, I don't know. Imagine you were camping and you were just making a little provisional camp. That's a strange example, but it should give you the idea. Then provincial has to do with provinces. So if you think in French, like Provence, my French pronunciation obviously is not very good, but provincial has to do with different areas or regions. So he is saying that all of our ideas in the world are really just kind of created without thinking too much, and most of our worldview and our views of the world are simply, they only are important for our little corner, our little region of the world.
When you go to North Korea, for example, you really do feel as if you've landed on a different planet. And the North Koreans, doubtless, feel that they're being visited by an extraterrestrial, too. Or else they simply assume that you, as they do, receive orders every morning from the Central Committee on what clothes to wear and what route to use when walking to work. And you, as they do, have loudspeakers in your bedroom broadcasting propaganda every morning at dawn, and you, as they do, have your radios fixed so as to receive only a single channel. Muito obrigada por ter escutado mais um episódio aqui do Inglês de Necrorádio. É muito bom ter você juntinho assim de nós. Faz muito, muito carinho no nosso coração, digamos assim. Então você que está interessado em saber mais sobre os nossos produtos e saber mais sobre a gente, o que a gente oferece para vocês em relação a estudo, a challenge, a curso, vá lá no inglêsdenecro.com e você pode ver mais sobre as worksheets, por exemplo.
Yeah. If you want to really improve your English, if you want to learn more about the ways you can do that and just connect with us on a deeper level, go to inglesnocru.com. And as always, keep up the good fight.
And lose well.
See you guys tomorrow.
Bye.